Have you ever noticed that certain thoughts of him appear at the most unexpected moments? When you're brushing your teeth, making coffee, or scrolling through social media, and somehow it feels like he's still there, even though he's long gone? This isn't a sign of weakness or a failure to move on. It's the powerful, disorienting sensation of being caught in an emotional loop, a ghost in the machine of your own mind. It's the way your brain and body cling to a memory that logic has already discarded. You're living in the present, but your emotional compass is constantly pointing to a past you can no longer return to. The very thought of him has become a powerful trigger, a well-worn path your mind can't help but follow back into the pain of what was. You feel betrayed by your own heart, stuck in a cycle of longing and grief that feels endless. But what if that ache isn't a sign of being stuck, but a profound signal? What if it's an invitation to finally look at the invisible threads that hold you captive? At Love Threads, we don't just talk about love, we deconstruct the invisible threads that keep people tethered to one another. We blend authentic, grounded insights with evidence-based psychology, giving you real intelligence on why we connect, why we sometimes misstep, and how to truly thrive when love feels like a constantly shifting landscape. Tonight, we're exploring the subtle, often unseen connections that bind hearts across space and time, why some relationships linger in your mind long after they end, and how understanding these patterns can free you from unconscious loops. The dilemma, the tangled web of emotional imprints. Imagine Leela, who sees a random message from an ex and instantly feels her stomach drop. She thinks, "Why am I reacting to this? I've moved on." This is the core dilemma of the invisible thread. You believe you've moved past the person, but your body, your mind, and your emotional memory haven't gotten the memo. The invisible thread isn't the person, it's the profound emotional data they left behind. It's the feeling of a presence without a presence, a conversation without a voice, a ghost in the machine of your own psyche. This residual energy is so potent that it can be triggered by the most mundane detail, shattering your sense of peace in an instant. What keeps her tied to these thoughts isn't always the person. They're hooks for unresolved emotional lessons. These threads are like phantom limbs of a past relationship. They may no longer be there, but the sensation of their presence is so real, so visceral, that it can dominate your entire emotional experience. It's a trick of the mind that convinces you the relationship is still a living, breathing thing. These archetypical triggers, ancestral patterns, and subtle cues reinforce the mental loop, creating the magnetic pull that feels beyond conscious control. A song, a street name, a shared memory, or even a specific scent. These aren't just triggers, they are the keys to a part of your mind that is still holding onto the story, refusing to let it go. Visualize the invisible thread as a tangled web, connecting moments, memories, and emotions. Each pull of the thread triggers a flood of longing, memories, and unresolved questions. This web isn't just in your mind, it's imprinted on your nervous system. The ache in your stomach, the sudden rush of heat to your cheeks, the involuntary racing of your heart, these are not just emotions. They are physiological responses to a trauma bond that has not yet been resolved. They are your body's way of screaming, "There is a threat to my emotional safety. I am alone." The work of breaking free, then, is not to simply think differently, but to re-educate your nervous system and to untangle the web of past imprints that are still dictating your present reality. Healing means teaching your body that it is now safe and that its survival is no longer dependent on the presence or absence of this person. It's a journey of compassionate self-recalibration. Anecdotal threads. Lila's journey and the archetypal echo. Lila's story deepens as she begins to notice these invisible threads everywhere. It's not just the big things, but the small, seemingly insignificant details that hold the most power. She's driving and a specific song comes on the radio. Not a song they loved, but one that was playing in the background during a moment of profound, shared silence. Her heart tightens, and she's instantly transported back to that car ride, the weight of his hand on hers, the feeling of a peaceful universe unfolding between them. She walks past a favorite cafe and catches the scent of his cologne on a stranger, and it's so potent that she has to physically stop walking, her entire body flooded with the memory of his presence. These cues are not just memories. They are archetypal symbols of unresolved relational energy. In the framework of sacred contracts, these moments are not random. The theory suggests our souls unconsciously make agreements with certain people to learn, grow, and experience specific relational lessons. Lila's ex wasn't just a man, he was a catalyst in her story, a teacher who delivered a lesson she has yet to fully integrate. The emotional entanglements she feels now are a sign that the contract is not yet complete. The grief she experiences isn't just for him, but for the lesson that feels unfinished, for the part of her that still longs to understand the purpose of their connection. In another way of looking at this, the unresolved longing for him can be seen as a threshold moment in her own heroic journey. The relationship itself was an adventure, a call to a new world. The breakup is the return to the ordinary world, but she's unable to truly cross the threshold. The unresolved challenges of the past relationship draw her back, pulling her into a repetitive cycle of memory and pain until the lesson is fully integrated and she is ready to move forward, not as a casualty of the past, but as a hero who has learned to carry her own light. Every lingering thought of him isn't random. It's an archetypal echo, a reflection of the inner wounds that need attention. He might have represented a sense of safety she never had, or an intoxicating freedom she never allowed herself. The ache she feels for him is actually the ache for that unfulfilled part of herself. By observing these loops, by noticing the specific moments that trigger her, she can begin to recognize these patterns for what they are, not a testament to the man she lost, but the blueprint of the parts of herself she has yet to find. Her lingering obsession is a powerful invitation to go inward, to complete the unfinished business of her own soul. And there's one psychological trick your mind plays that keeps him alive in your thoughts, and most people never notice it. This isn't just about memory, it's about a specific cognitive bias that ensures the very things we are trying to forget become the most vivid, most persistent thoughts in our minds. It's an illusion of presence created by the brain's attempt to resolve a conflict. The echo chamber of memory. Lila's story is a mirror for so many of us. She finds herself in an echo chamber of memory, where every sound, sight, and scent carries the weight of a past connection. It isn't just the grand moments that trigger her. It's the quiet, almost insignificant ones. The scent of a specific brand of coffee he used to drink. The sight of a dog that reminds her of his. Even the way a stranger laughs in the street. These aren't random occurrences. They are the frayed edges of a psychological thread, a blueprint for her grief. Her heart lurches not just for him, but for the entire world they once built together. The narrative she carries, of a love that felt like home, is so powerful that her mind will seek out any and all evidence to prove it once existed. This isn't a flaw in her character. It's a profound archetypal process. In her mind, the relationship was a sacred contract, an unspoken agreement to journey through a specific set of emotional challenges. The breakup was not the end of the contract, but the beginning of its most difficult phase. Her longing for him is, in a very real sense, her soul's refusal to accept that the lesson remains unlearned. He was a catalyst, and the work of a catalyst is to spark a reaction. Even in his absence, that reaction, a deep, persistent yearning, is still very much active within her. This is the very essence of the hero's journey. A part of her yearns for the ordinary world she had before him, but she can't return to it because she has been fundamentally changed by the experience. She is stuck at the threshold, like a hero who has seen the magic of another realm but is too wounded to fully return. Her grief isn't just a feeling, it is the belly of the whale, a dark, transformative space where she is forced to confront her deepest fears before she can be reborn. The loops of memory and longing are the walls of this inner space, holding her captive until she finds the courage to navigate them. The man she longs for, then, is not just a person, he is a profound archetypal echo. He might have been a representation of the wild man, a symbol of freedom she yearned for but never allowed herself to embody. Or perhaps he was the wounded healer, and in his perceived lack of commitment, she saw a mirror of her own inability to commit to herself. The ache she feels is not for his physical presence, but for the completion of a story she projected onto him. By observing these loops, she can begin to see that the longing isn't about him, but about the parts of herself she is waiting to reclaim. Her obsession with him is a powerful invitation to go inward, to complete the unfinished business of her own soul and write a new chapter. This is a powerful invitation to stop looking outside herself for closure and to start listening to the whispers of her own soul. The pain is not an ending, it is a signpost. The loop she feels trapped in is not a prison, but a path. By understanding these deep patterns, Ela can finally stop searching for him in the shadows of the past and begin to find herself in the light of the present. What is this invisible thread? The question isn't why he's still in your mind, but what he represents to your mind. The invisible thread isn't just a simple emotional connection. It's a complex, multi-layered force that binds your past, present, and future. Understanding this is the key to finally setting yourself free. It's the profound work of a psychological detective, where you stop looking at the crime scene of the breakup and start examining the deep, hidden motives that are still at play within you. The lingering feeling is not a sign of failure, but a signal, a breadcrumb trail leading you inward to the source of your own emotional power. Attachment loops, the echo of early love. Insights from a groundbreaking framework for understanding human connection tell us that the way we form bonds as children creates a blueprint for our adult relationships. This foundational pattern, often invisible to us, dictates how we seek connection, how we respond to intimacy, and most importantly, how we cope with its absence. For Alila, this pattern is rooted in what is called anxious preoccupied attachment. This is a style of connection forged in the crucible of inconsistent love, where care and affection were not a steady, predictable stream, but a fluctuating tide, sometimes present, sometimes absent, always a source of uncertainty. Imagine the nervous system of a child who learned early on that love was conditional, that affection could be withdrawn without warning. That child's brain develops a highly sophisticated, hyper-vigilant scanner. It's an internal radar, constantly sweeping the emotional landscape for any sign of impending abandonment. This isn't a conscious choice. It's a survival mechanism, a deeply ingrained strategy to secure connection in an environment where it was never guaranteed. As an adult, this early blueprint leads to a nervous system that is perpetually on high alert. When a relationship ends, the brain doesn't simply accept the new reality. It goes into overdrive, activating that old survival pattern. It scans for any and all signals of connection, no matter how small, because a lack of connection confirms its deepest, most primal fear of being alone. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's a profound echo of a historical blueprint, a nervous system still operating under the assumption that connection is your only lifeline. The pain of the breakup isn't just grief for the person, but a primal scream from a part of you that believes it is once again being left behind. You are, in effect, fighting a ghost from your past, and the more you try to find them in the present, the stronger their hold becomes. Emotional memory and neuroscience. A chemical addiction. Romantic love isn't just an emotion.
It's a powerful, neurologically based drive, a form of temporary, delightful madness. And when that love is taken away, the brain's reward system doesn't just shut off, it goes into a withdrawal state. The same reward centers of the brain that are activated by a loving touch or a kind word are now clamoring for their fix. This is a profound biological process. Our brains are wired for connection through a powerful cocktail of neurochemicals. The brain's system of dopamine, oxytocin, and vasopressin, the very chemicals that create feelings of euphoria, bonding, and closeness, is heavily activated in romantic memory recall. Every time Leela thinks of her ex, a little rush of these chemicals is released. Her brain learns to associate the thought of him with a chemical reward. This makes the absence feel more intense, more painful, and more addictive than the presence ever did. The craving for the past isn't a romantic notion. It is a profound biological hunger. You are, in essence, withdrawing from a deeply ingrained chemical cocktail. Think of it like this. Your brain's limbic system, the emotional, primal part of the brain, is screaming for its fix. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, the logical, rational part of the brain, is trying to tell it that the source of that fix is gone. This internal battle is what creates the maddening feeling of being stuck, the knowledge that you should move on, battling with the intense physiological craving to cling to the past. The act of checking a social media page or rereading an old text provides a momentary but ultimately destructive dose of dopamine. It's a temporary relief that only reinforces the loop, strengthening the addiction rather than breaking it. True freedom comes from understanding this chemical reality, recognizing the craving for what it is, and consciously choosing not to feed the addiction. It's about starving the loop of its fuel, allowing your brain to gradually recalibrate and find new, healthier sources of joy and connection. The invisible thread is, in essence, a neural pathway you are continuing to strengthen with every thought. The work of healing is about forging new pathways, one intentional thought at a time.
Family systems, the shadow of the past. There's a profound and often unseen influence at work in our relationships, the legacy of our ancestors. The insights of a therapeutic model focused on family systems reveal that we are all, in a sense, acting out a script that has been passed down through generations. These unconscious loyalties to our family history can be more powerful than any conscious desire we have. Unresolved ancestral trauma can make us unconsciously repeat relational patterns. Perhaps a parent was abandoned, or a grandparent was betrayed. The invisible scar of that event can echo through the generations, shaping our adult relationships in ways we can't even begin to comprehend. Lila's loop might not just be about her and her ex, it might be an unconscious loyalty to a family system that has a history of mistrust, a history of unrequited love, or a history of never feeling safe enough to truly let go. By obsessively clinging to the past, she may be unconsciously honoring a generational pattern of heartbreak. The work of breaking free isn't just for her, it is for the generations before her who could not find their peace. The ghost of her past love is also the ghost of her family's past, and she is the one who has the power to finally put it to rest. This doesn't mean blaming your family, it means recognizing the patterns you inherited. A mother who was emotionally distant may have taught you that love is unreliable. A father who was betrayed may have imprinted a deep-seated fear of trust. These invisible loyalties create a blueprint for your own relationships, and you may find yourself acting out the very patterns you swore you would never repeat. The obsessive loop isn't just a personal struggle. It is a profound, systemic dance with the past, and you are the one who gets to decide to step off the dance floor.
It's about honoring your ancestors not by repeating their pain, but by healing the patterns that held them captive, and in doing so, creating a new, healthier legacy for yourself. Shadow work, the self in the mirror. Finally, the ex-lover may unconsciously represent an inner shadow or an unintegrated aspect of the self. A long tradition in depth psychology teaches us that we often project onto others the parts of ourselves that we are not yet ready to see or accept. Perhaps she saw in him a sense of adventure she longed for, but was too afraid to claim for herself. Or perhaps he represented a woundedness that mirrored her own, making their connection feel intoxicatingly familiar. Recognizing this helps you differentiate between genuine desire for him and a longing for the feeling he represented. The loop she is trapped in isn't about him, it's about her. The ache she feels for him is actually the ache for her own unintegrated self, the part of her that is waiting to be made whole. When she can see him not as a lost love, but as a mirror, she can begin to take back the power she has given away. The longing for the him that existed in her mind is actually a longing for the qualities she projected onto him, the sense of freedom, the capacity for joy, the feeling of being fully seen. By bringing these qualities back into herself, she can stop searching them in other people and start living them herself. The obsessive thought loop is, in a very real sense, a conversation with herself. It's her psyche's way of saying, there is a part of me that is still waiting for you. The ex-lover was simply the vessel, the container for these unowned parts of herself. To heal, she must reclaim what she gave away. Ask yourself, have you ever noticed how absence makes your heart ache more than presence ever did? Have you ever considered that the obsession isn't about them, but about a deeper wound in you? This is the beginning of a profound journey, one that leads not back to a person, but home to yourself. The path to healing is not one of forgetting, but of remembering who you are without the reflection of another.
Rewriting the narrative and the turning point. Breaking the thread isn't about cutting off memories. It's about conscious integration. This is the turning point, the moment you decide to stop being a passive passenger in your emotional loop and start steering your own journey. This is the radical shift from reaction to intentional action. The obsessive thoughts and lingering feelings are not a personal failing. They are simply energy seeking direction. By redirecting this energy, you can transform it from a destructive force into a powerful tool for self-discovery and growth. This isn't just about moving on from a person, it's about moving forward into the person you are meant to become. The work begins not by fighting the past, but by understanding it. It's an act of emotional intelligence and profound self-compassion. You are stepping into the role of the hero in your own story, taking control of the narrative that has, until now, controlled you. This is the moment you reclaim your agency. You are no longer waiting for the ache to disappear. You're actively creating a life where the ache no longer has the power to define you. The subtle, invisible threads that bind you to the past are no match for the intentional, powerful work you are about to begin. You are choosing to be the architect of your future, not the archaeologist of your past. Awareness and observation. The first step on this new path is to become a mindful observer of your own thoughts and feelings. This is a gentle yet powerful practice. Instead of suppressing or judging the thoughts of him, simply observe them. See them as a gentle wave washing over you, not a tsunami that can drown you. Track the triggers without judgment. Notice the subtle moments your mind drifts to him when you're brushing your teeth, making coffee, or seeing a post online. These moments are not punishments, they are signals. Acknowledge these emotional patterns rather than suppressing them. By simply noticing the thought, you create a tiny space between the trigger and your reaction. In that space lies the opportunity for choice, for change, and for a new way of being.
To cultivate this awareness, start small. Take a few deep, conscious breaths when a memory arises. Acknowledge the feeling by saying to yourself, "I'm noticing a feeling of longing right now," or "That memory just made my stomach drop." This simple act of naming the emotion externalizes it, making it something you can observe rather than something you are consumed by. This is the beginning of a profound new relationship with yourself, one where you are the compassionate witness, not the helpless victim of your own emotional triggers. You're learning that you can feel these things without being controlled by them. You're teaching your nervous system that it is safe, even in the presence of old pain. The more you practice this, the more that space between trigger and reaction widens, becoming a fertile ground for a new, calmer internal landscape. Redirection and engagement. The most powerful antidote to an unconscious loop is conscious, purposeful action. The longing you feel is simply energy looking for a place to go. Your work is to redirect that energy into your own life. Channel it into hobbies, friendships, and self-development. Enroll in a class you've always wanted to take, whether it's painting, pottery, or a new language. Join a new gym and dedicate yourself to your physical health. Reconnect with old friends or make a conscious effort to meet new ones. The purpose here is not to distract yourself from the pain, but to build a life so full, so rich, and so compelling that the memory of the past can no longer occupy the central stage. The obsessive thoughts and lingering feelings are simply energy looking for a place to go. By redirecting that energy into creative pursuits and personal growth, you are transforming it from a destructive force into a constructive one. You are taking the longing and turning it into art, the sadness into wisdom, and the emptiness into a new foundation for your future. This is how you build a life so compelling that the past, instead of haunting you, becomes a valuable lesson on your journey. Closure rituals. The final strategy in breaking the emotional loop is give your mind the closure it is so desperately seeking. The loop itself is often a desperate cry from a part of you that feels the story is unfinished, a narrative left with frayed ends and unanswered questions. You can provide this closure for yourself through a closure ritual. This isn't about making a grand public statement or seeking a final conversation with him. It is a profound, private ceremony of release, a sacred act performed for yourself alone. This process is about honoring your emotional reality and providing your mind with the finality it craves. It's a way of saying, the story is over and I am the one who gets to write the final chapter. By engaging in a ritual, you're not just performing an action. You are creating a powerful symbol that signals to your subconscious mind that the conversation has ended. Conclusion: the journey to freedom. The invisible thread only has power if you allow it to. Understanding your triggers and patterns is your first step to freedom. It's the conscious choice to pause before you check his social media, the deliberate act of journaling instead of ruminating, and the gentle discipline of redirecting your energy toward your own growth. This is how you stop being a passenger in your own life and start steering your own journey. The truth is, letting go isn't just about him. It's about reclaiming your mind and your heart. The emotional loop that keeps you tied to the past is a powerful, yet ultimately fragile illusion. Your mind is a brilliant storyteller, but it can get stuck on a single painful narrative. Understanding this isn't a passive observation. It's the very action that begins to weaken the loop's hold. Each time you recognize a trigger or a repetitive thought for what it is, a ghost of a feeling, a frayed thread of a memory, you begin to pull back your power. This is the very essence of choosing freedom. It's not one grand, dramatic decision, but a series of small, courageous acts performed every single day. The loop loses its power when you stop believing the story it's telling you. If you've recognized yourself in this story, you've already taken the most important step. Now it's time for action. Which of these steps, the digital detox, redirecting your attention, or a closure ritual, will you take first? We invite you to share your story in the comments below. Join our community and tell us about the first thread you'll unravel. Your courage to begin is a beacon of hope for others on this same path, and your first step is the beginning of your new story. Let's continue this journey of healing together. Tomorrow, we'll explore the invisible threads that keep a past love in your mind and why you may never notice them consciously. We'll delve into how these unspoken attachments from your family's history can unconsciously shape your current emotional loops, and how to finally break free from that legacy.